Summer, the year is 1518. The city of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, basks in a dry, breathless July heat. Its streets echo with merchants, calls, and clattering carts. But in the heart of the city, on a cobbled street called Rue de la Vignette, something impossible begins. A woman, Frau Trafia, steps into the open. Her eyes are distant, her face glistens with sweat. And then she starts to dance. She dances through the day and into the night. When her body begins to give out, her limbs shake violently, yet she continues. The next morning, she's still moving, collapsing and rising again. The people of Strasbourg call it a curse, a punishment from Saint Vitus, the saint believed to bring madness through dance. By the third day, she is joined by others. A young baker's wife, a miller, a priest's son. They dance together, not in joy but in torment. No one can explain it. No one dares to touch them. No music, no laughter, just the sound of her shoes scraping against the stones. Hours pass. The crowd gathers, first amused, then uneasy. She does not stop. Within a week, the streets are filled with dancers. Some scream in agony as their legs give way. Others laugh through tears, their faces twisted between euphoria and despair. 2 dozen, 5 dozen, 100. The city descends into chaos. Physicians declare it a sickness of the blood, a heated brain. The clergy call it sin, a punishment for vanity and greed. But the truth is, no one knows. Each day, more join the dance. Each night, more bodies are carried away. The Council of Strasbourg meets in haste. To imprison the dancers might anger God. To let them dance might destroy the city. And so, the city makes a decision that will go down in infamy. They order the building of a stage. Musicians are hired. The belief is simple: if the dancers cannot stop, they must dance themselves free. The music begins. And the nightmare deepens. In the city square, hundreds now writhe and twist. The music drowns out their cries. Some dance until their ribs crack. Others fall and are trampled by the crowd. Witnesses claim the air smells of iron and sweat, a city possessed by invisible fire. Within weeks, at least 400 people are said to have joined the plague. Death comes quietly. Hearts burst. Bodies collapse mid-spin. And still the dancing continues. As the death toll rises, the healers grow desperate. They bleed patients, prescribe rest, and burn incense to purify the air. But others turn to faith. The Church declares that those afflicted must seek forgiveness at the shrine of Saint Vitus in the mountains of Saverne. Hundreds are led away barefoot, escorted by priests. They carry candles, relics, and the last hopes of a terrified city. For those left behind, the music stops. But the memory of the dance will haunt Strasbourg forever. When the music finally ceased, Strasbourg fell silent. The same streets that once throbbed with drums now echoed with whispers. Merchants reopened their stalls cautiously, as if the air itself still carried contagion. Mothers led their children past blood-stained stones, warning them not to look down. But behind closed doors, the city trembled. No one could say what had passed or if it would come again. Rumor spread faster than the plague itself. Some swore they had seen shapes moving with the dancers, specters urging them on. Others claimed to hear faint music at night, though no musician played. A few insisted that Frau Trafia had cursed the city for a sin long forgotten. But no one, not even the learned physicians, could name the cause. To explain what reason could not, the doctors of the age turned to faith and folklore. The ailment, they said, was a visitation from Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers, actors, and epileptics. Those who angered him would be seized by motion until their sins were absolved. So the afflicted were marched to shrines and made to kneel, their bodies trembling, their eyes vacant. But even holy ground offered little peace. The city council decreed that the dancers be sent to the mountain shrine of Saint Vitus in Saverne. It was said that there, the saint's relic could calm the afflicted. So hundreds walked, bleeding, delirious, murmuring fragments of prayer and song. At the chapel, priests tied red ribbons around their wrists and sprinkled them with holy water. Some collapsed in tears, others smiled, their bodies finally still. And just like that, the dancing stopped. The chronicles of Strasbourg recorded the plague, then turned the page. For centuries, the tale slept in archives and abbey libraries, half myth, half memory. But questions lingered. How could hundreds of sane people move to death in unison? Centuries later, modern minds would reopen the case. In the 20th century, one theory rose above all others: ergotism. A fungus that grows on rye in damp conditions can produce powerful hallucinogens, the same compounds later used to synthesize LSD. If the citizens of Strasbourg had eaten tainted bread, their minds might have burst into chaos, hallucinations, convulsions, fevered visions. But there is one flaw. Ergot poisoning rarely allows such sustained motion. It cripples rather than compels. The truth, it seemed, remained one step out of reach. Another idea emerged, a sickness not of the body but of the mind. Mass psychogenic illness. When fear, hunger, and faith collide, a community can fall into shared delusion. In 1518, the people of Strasbourg were trapped between famine, disease, and divine dread. The air itself was heavy with guilt and expectation. In such tension, one spark, one dancing woman, might ignite the entire city. Perhaps the plague was never truly gone. Perhaps it simply changed its costume. We still dance to invisible forces: panic, faith, contagion of thought. What happened in Strasbourg was not a miracle, nor a curse. It was a mirror. A glimpse into what happens when humanity's fear finds rhythm. And though the city sleeps, the echoes remain. Somewhere between faith and madness, they danced, until their hearts could bear no more. History uncovered. The stories we remember, and the ones that will never stop moving. When the last dancer fell, Strasbourg exhaled. The city buried its dead, cleaned the square, and moved on. But silence can be deceiving. In that stillness lay a haunting memory, an event too strange to be forgotten and too shameful to be understood. The people turned the page, but the stain remained. Strasbourg's plague was not the first. Records from the 14th and 15th centuries mention similar outbreaks across the Rhine, the Moselle, and the Meuse. Entire villages struck by uncontrollable motion, men and women dancing for hours, days, even weeks. In Aachen, in 1374, thousands danced in the streets until exhaustion claimed them. The chroniclers wrote of laughter turning to weeping, prayers to screams. But none would be remembered quite like the summer of 1518. To the church, the plague was a war between the divine and the profane. Priests saw the dance as proof that sin had seeped deep into the soul of the people. Masses were held, confessions demanded. But every sermon revealed a deeper fear, that faith itself was losing its grip on the human heart. And when the church's prayers failed, the people sought other answers. Physicians, bound by reason yet trapped in superstition, struggled to explain the unexplainable. They blamed hot blood, the summer heat, and excessive joy. Ironically, they ordered music and dancing to cure the dancers, hiring pipers, drummers, and musicians to play them into health. But the cure became the contagion. Every note pulled new souls into the rhythm. Centuries later, psychologists would call it collective hysteria, a mirror of the mind under pressure. In times of fear, famine, or plague, the human brain seeks escape. What began as one woman's breakdown became a shared trance. A community finding motion, where words had failed. The body spoke the terror the tongue could not. We like to believe we've outgrown the madness of the past. But perhaps the plague never truly ended. Today, the rhythm has changed. Not drums or fiddles, but screens and notifications. We move in waves, trends, and hashtags. Each one another dance of obedience, fear, or faith. The same hysteria, dressed in modern clothes. The dancing plague reminds us that logic alone cannot cage the human spirit. We are creatures of emotion, fragile, communal, easily swayed. When fear becomes unbearable, it demands expression. Sometimes in words, sometimes in silence, and sometimes in dance. And what of the woman who began it all, Frau Trafia? Her name appears only once in the records. Some say she was possessed, others heartbroken. But perhaps she was neither saint nor sinner, merely human, trapped in a world that could not understand her pain. A single life whose suffering echoed through centuries. Every city hides its ghosts. Strasbourg's spirit still stirs when the wind carries faint music through the square. A rhythm only history can hear. The dancing plague of 1518 was not just an event. It was a question about fear, faith, and the fragile boundary between order and chaos. We all dance to something. The mystery is knowing what calls the tune. This is history uncovered. The past has secrets, and sometimes they dance. Do you enjoy today's video? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.